Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on EastCoastCreep. A lovely young lady commented on my 2-month carnivore update and explained how she had been mostly vegan for 6 years and had anxiety and depression for 5.5 of those 6 years. Seems to be a very common theme among vegetarians and vegans. Like most people, it takes a while for them to figure it out, and just last week she made the connection that her diet was affecting her mental health. But she's struggling with eating meat and hasn't been able to. And then she asked if I could do a video on the emotional side of eating meat again. First of all, thank you so much for this question and for this comment. I think I needed to get that comment because even though in my Why I'm No Longer Vegan video, I said things very matter-of-factly and very bluntly, it wasn't really the reality of the situation. I had an extremely difficult time switching over from veganism to a normal diet and then switching to carnivory. It's a miracle that I found all that I did about meat and how it heals the body and helps inflammation and things like digestive issues. I actually cried for weeks after I stopped being vegan. Just the initial shock of everything and then realizing that the whole thing was a scam. It turned my whole world upside down. The day I ate eggs, I was actually sobbing into them. I could barely open my mouth because I just had like mucus. That's why I said it was ridiculous in that video, because it was ridiculous. I was hysterical for maybe a couple weeks after I started eating meat. Each bite made me think of the animal, made me think of their babies and their lives that they lived before they were a meal for me. It made me more grateful for my food, but it was really difficult psychologically. I just don't think that was a healthy mindset, and I think that is the essence of veganism and vegetarianism. It is essentially an eating disorder because human beings are not herbivorous.
Many people, including so-called authorities who promote a plant-based diet, claim that the structure and function of our digestive tract is very similar to chimpanzees and other great apes. However, this illustration, drawn to scale, depicts the very significant difference between our gut and those of the great apes. Evidently, a healthy human has a much smaller gut. The great apes have big guts and small brains, and we have big brains and small guts. In fact, our brain is about 3 times larger, and our gut mass is about 40% smaller than expected for a primate of our size. In primates and all other mammals, both brain and gut mass are related to diet. Species that specialize in feeding on low energy density plant foods have relatively large, complex guts with either foregut or hindgut fermentation vats, along with small brains. And species that specialize in feeding on high energy density animal foods have relatively larger brains, but relatively smaller and simpler guts without capacious fermentation vats. We fit into the latter category. An obligate herbivore cannot survive without its fermentation vats, full of microbes to digest fiber, whereas a natural obligate carnivore has no need for fermentation and can survive without gut microbes, but in its natural habitat must consume animal meat and fat to satisfy its nutrition requirements. We humans belong to the latter category.
You know, we're taught to look at what is food for the human being as not food. We're taught to eat solely plants, and doing that makes us sick long term. You know, it's like this Puritan mindset that is instilled within people based on their emotions. I think in order for a person to make a change both confidently and comfortably, they have to understand their why. For me, it was, why are plant foods making me sick? Why are all the vegans I know anxious and depressed? Why am I anxious and depressed? Why did one meal with eggs in it make me feel better? So I sat myself down at my computer and essentially made myself collect as much data as possible as to why I should eat meat and how I should eat meat. I found ex-vegans. Then I found ex-vegans who only ate meat. And then I found doctors who only ate meat. And then I found neurologists and nutritionists who used meat to treat people for their physical and mental health problems. These intelligent and independent thinkers seem to be approaching things from a very logical standpoint, someplace completely different than where I had been approaching things from before. Up until that point, I had been making every decision based on emotion, which was ultimately feeding into my instability because emotions are ever changing and they are never constant. I've seen Earthlings, I've seen Cowspiracy, I've seen Food Inc., I've seen them all. You know, I've read the studies, I've seen the data, I've seen the food guide that the government pushes onto us, and honestly, what good is all of that if people are getting sick from that?
If you really want to kill the most things, be a vegan, because the farmers who protect your beans kill everything. I kill one animal per arrow. In order to grow tofu, you have to kill every ground squirrel, every vole, every shrew, every snake, every turtle, every frog, every bird, every rabbit, anything that gets in that bean field, I'm either going to plow and dismember, which is why the crows and the seagulls follow the combines every year. And then if anything does survive my first slaughter, I'm going to come in with Monsanto and poison the shit out of everything so you can have a tofu salad and not be responsible for any death.
The vegans will say 80% of global cropping gets fed to livestock. So that's simply not correct. If you take something like this corn here, when this goes to a factory, they strip off the vegetable matter, they take the corn kernels off. The corn kernels are where the energy is. So the cob that's left, that gets smashed up and turned into livestock feed. The vegetable matter, that gets turned into livestock feed. 55% of global cropping goes straight for human consumption. 15% go to biofuels. 5% goes to other, that's like cotton and rubber. And that leaves 25% for livestock feed.
I no longer believe that veganism is optimal for health. I actually think it's harmful. I don't think it's good for the environment. I think it's harmful. And I don't think it's good for animals. I think it harms them. So just like how I justified being vegan when I went vegan, I can now justify not being vegan and eating meat. Something we're taught being vegan and vegetarian is that there's only one way to do things if you are a good, moral, ethical person. And because of that, thinking, I still find myself each day asking myself, why am I carnivore? Why am I doing this? Why am I eating meat? Why do I do things the way I do? Because it's natural, because it's ethical, because it's better for the environment, it's better for the welfare of animals, because it's better for me. And it's something that I have to do if I am going to be healthy and if I'm going to have mental stability. I'm still slowly working to disregard all of that vegan and vegetarian brainwashing that I went through as a teenager and then as an adult. And that's something that you're going to have to do too if you are struggling to make a change that will benefit your health. Your health is everything, and if you are going to do something to yourself, it might as well be something that's going to benefit you. Listen to your body. If you're struggling with eating meat or feeling, guilty over doing something like that, please don't. You can shift your mindset and really feel appreciative towards the nourishment that you're receiving from an animal food. Just give thanks to the animal that's nourishing you, which I think is one of the most natural things in the entire world. I know it's tough, but just keep working through it and keep pushing your limits and challenging yourself and doing things a different way. If I hadn't done that, I can't even imagine what my life would be like now. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you for the next one.